The sharp clink of silverware against china punctuated the suffocating silence of the Thompson family Christmas dinner. I, Alex Thompson, sat wedged between my seemingly perfect older brother Michael and my golden child younger sister Emma, feeling like a ghost at the feast. Mom's voice cut through the room like a razor. "Alex," she began, her tone dripping with a mixture of disappointment and public performance. "You're the most useless child we have." The words hung in the air, crystallizing into a moment I knew would be etched in my memory forever. Around the elaborately decorated table, my relatives exchanged uncomfortable glances. Dad continued buttering his roll, not even bothering to look up. Michael adjusted his designer glasses, while Emma studied her manicured nails with practiced disinterest. I was 28 years old, yet I felt like that small, trembling child who had never been enough. Years of subtle comparisons, backhanded compliments, and calculated criticism had led to this moment. My job as a mid-level marketing coordinator apparently didn't measure up to Michael's surgical career or Emma's social media influencer status. "Your brother saves lives," Mom had often said. "And your sister? She's building an empire online. What exactly do you do again, Alex?" The Christmas tree's twinkling lights seemed to mock me, casting fragmented reflections of a family that felt more like strangers united by shared DNA than a genuine support system. My grandmother, usually my sole defender, was conspicuously silent this year, her recent stroke having stolen her ability to intervene. "I work in marketing," I'd respond countless times, my voice smaller with each repetition. But this time, something inside me shifted. As Mom's declaration hung in the room like a toxic cloud, I felt a spark ignite, a mixture of hurt, anger, and unexpected determination. The room waited. Forks paused midway to mouths. My father's knife hovered above the perfectly roasted turkey. Everyone anticipated my response, expecting the same defeated silence they'd grown accustomed to over the years. But this Christmas would be different. This moment would mark the beginning of something unexpected, my transformation. That night, after the forced pleasantries and passive-aggressive exchanges, I retreated to my childhood bedroom. The walls were a time capsule of disappointment, faded academic certificates, participation trophies, and photographs that told a story of perpetual second best. I pulled out an old journal, its pages yellow with time, and began to map out the intricate landscape of my familial betrayal. It wasn't just a single moment of Christmas cruelty. It was a lifetime of calculated undermining. Michael had always been the medical prodigy. Emma, the social media darling with millions of followers. And me, I was the middle child, the undefined space between excellence and glamour. My marketing job was deemed corporate and mundane by my family's standards. They never asked about my actual work, my achievements, or my dreams. I remembered the subtle ways they diminish my existence. The family gatherings where conversations would flow around Michael's surgical achievements and Emma's brand deals, leaving me to sit in uncomfortable silence. The birthday cards that felt more like performance art of familial obligation than genuine expressions of love. My therapist, Dr. Rachel, had warned me about these patterns. "Emotional abuse doesn't always look like screaming," she'd said during our last session. "Sometimes it's death by 1,000 cuts." Those cuts had accumulated. Each dismissive comment, each comparison, each public humiliation, they weren't just words. They were calculated attempts to define my worth, and for years I'd internalized their narrative. But something fundamental was changing. The spark from the Christmas dinner was evolving into a flame of recognition. I wasn't going to be their narrative anymore. I was going to write my own story. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about dramatic confrontation. It was about strategic transformation. I spent the next few months meticulously planning my personal renaissance. Each morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., dedicating myself to professional development and personal growth. I enrolled in advanced digital marketing certification courses, targeting cutting-edge skills that would set me apart in the industry. My current marketing job at a mid-tier agency became my training ground. I volunteered for challenging projects, worked overtime, and began developing innovative marketing strategies that caught the attention of senior management. I wasn't just going to prove my family wrong, I was going to excel beyond their narrow definition of success. Financial independence became my next focus. I created a strict budget, cutting unnecessary expenses and investing in myself. I started a side consulting business, leveraging my growing expertise in digital marketing. Each client was a small victory, each successful campaign a silent rebuke to the family narrative that had confined me. Networking became my lifeline. I attended industry conferences, connected with thought leaders, and expanded my professional circle. I discovered mentors who saw potential where my family saw only mediocrity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a marketing strategy consultant, became a pivotal influence. "Success is the best response to doubt," she told me during one of our mentoring sessions. I also invested in my emotional health. Continued therapy with Dr. Rachel helped me unpack years of internalized criticism. We worked on building self-worth that wasn't dependent on external validation. I joined support groups for individuals recovering from family emotional abuse, finding strength in shared experiences. Physical transformation accompanied my professional growth. I started a rigorous fitness routine, not to impress others, but to challenge my own limitations. Each workout was a metaphorical middle finger to the narrative of uselessness I'd been force-fed. My strategic plan wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It was about radical self-improvement. I was going to become the person my family never believed I could be. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. 2 years of relentless dedication began to bear fruit. My digital marketing consultancy grew from a side hustle to a recognized boutique agency. I specialized in helping small businesses and startups develop breakthrough marketing strategies, a niche that set me apart in the industry. My first major client was a local tech startup struggling to gain market traction. Where traditional agencies saw a lost cause, I saw potential. I developed an innovative marketing campaign that combined data-driven insights with creative storytelling. When the startup secured significant venture capital funding, industry publications took notice. The Wall Street Journal featured an article about emerging marketing strategists, and my name was prominently mentioned. I framed the clipping, not as a trophy for my family, but as a testament to my own journey. Each achievement felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that had been slowly chipped away by years of familial criticism. My chosen family became my true support system. Sarah, my best friend from college, and her partner Marcus became my anchor. They celebrated my wins, listened to my struggles, and provided the emotional support my biological family never could. Weekly dinners at their home became a sanctuary of acceptance and genuine love. I started mentoring young marketing professionals, particularly those who struggled with self-doubt. My workshops on personal branding and professional confidence became popular, drawing participants from across the country. Each session was a reminder that success isn't about proving others wrong, but about proving yourself right. Financially, I reached a milestone I never thought possible. I bought a small but beautiful townhouse, designing it as a space of personal empowerment. The walls were adorned with art from local artists, each piece a symbol of creativity and individual expression. My home became a reflection of my journey, carefully curated, unapologetically mine. My relationship with health transformed as well. The fitness routine evolved into a holistic approach to wellness. I became a certified yoga instructor, teaching weekend classes that focused on mental and physical strength. My body became a testament to resilience, each muscle a story of overcoming, each breath a celebration of self-love. Professional recognition followed. I was invited to speak at national marketing conferences, sharing insights on innovative marketing strategies. My TEDx talk on rewriting your personal narrative went viral, resonating with thousands who had experienced similar familial challenges. The most profound change, however, was internal. I had stopped seeking validation from those who couldn't see my worth. My definition of success was no longer measured by my family's narrow standards, but by my own growth, integrity, and ability to make a meaningful impact. I was no longer the useless child. I was a creator, a strategist, a mentor, but most importantly, I was finally completely myself. The next family gathering was a different affair entirely. This time, I arrived not as the apologetic middle child, but as a confident professional with a clear sense of self. The venue was my parents' annual summer barbecue, a carefully orchestrated display of familial perfection. Michael arrived in his pristine surgeon's attire, Emma trailing behind with her camera crew, documenting her latest brand collaboration. I walked in with a quiet confidence that immediately disrupted the room's usual dynamic. My mother's eyes widened as I casually mentioned my recent TEDx talk and the international marketing conference where I was a keynote speaker. Dad looked up from his grill, momentarily stunned. Emma's carefully rehearsed vlog script seemed to falter mid-sentence. "I've been meaning to tell you," I said calmly. My consultancy just secured a major contract with a Silicon Valley tech giant. We're revolutionizing how small businesses approach digital marketing. The silence was different this time, not the suffocating silence of past gatherings, but one of genuine surprise. My grandmother, now recovered from her stroke, caught my eye and gave a subtle, knowing smile. Michael attempted his usual dismissive approach. "Marketing? Still playing around in that field?" His tone carried the familiar condescension, but it lacked its previous bite. "Actually," I responded, meeting his gaze directly, "we've been recognized for our innovative strategies that have helped multiple startups secure significant funding. Our work directly impacts economic growth." Emma's influencer facade cracked slightly. For the first time, I saw a flicker of respect in her eyes. My mother, always the master of backhanded comments, tried to regain control. "Well, I suppose it's nice you're finally doing something." But her words no longer held power. I had already defined my worth, carved my path, and created a life that was entirely my own. The family's opinion was now just background noise, pleasant or unpleasant, but ultimately inconsequential. As the barbecue continued, I noticed subtle shifts. Conversations became more inclusive. Questions about my work were genuine, not performative. I had changed the family dynamic not through confrontation, but through quiet, consistent self-improvement. My revenge was simple. I became the person they never believed I could be. The true climax of my journey came unexpectedly during the following Christmas dinner. This time, I arrived not with apprehension, but with a sense of profound inner peace. The dining room was a tableau of familiar tension, but something had fundamentally shifted. My parents exchanged glances, unsure how to navigate the new dynamic I had created. Michael sat quietly, his usual bravado tempered by a newfound respect. Emma, typically the center of attention, seemed more subdued. "I have an announcement," I said, my voice calm and clear. "I've been invited to lead a global marketing initiative for a United Nations Sustainable Development Project." The room fell silent. My mother's fork paused midway to her mouth. My father's perpetual frown softened almost imperceptibly. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, my mentor, had accompanied me. She spoke about my work, about the innovative strategies I developed that were creating real-world impact. Her words were not just praise, but a testament to my professional growth. "Alex has redefined what success looks like," she said. "It's not about traditional metrics, but about creating meaningful change." I watched as the narrative about me began to crumble. The useless child was no longer a convenient family myth. I had transformed that label into a source of strength, into a narrative of resilience and triumph. My grandmother, who had always seen potential in me, reached out and squeezed my hand. In her eyes, I saw a mixture of pride and vindication. She had always believed in me, even when no one else did. The confrontation wasn't about winning or losing. It was about reclaiming my story, about showing that my worth was not determined by their limited perception, but by my own definition of success. As the evening progressed, something remarkable happened. Conversations became genuine. Questions about my work were asked with real curiosity. The walls of judgment began to dissolve, replaced by a tentative understanding. I had become more than they ever imagined, not through revenge, but through radical self-love. In the quiet moments after transformation, I discovered that healing is not a destination, but a continuous journey. The scars of years of emotional manipulation didn't disappear overnight, but they no longer defined me. Therapy with Dr. Rachel helped me understand that my worth was never determined by my family's limited perception. I learned to set boundaries, to love myself unconditionally, and to recognize that forgiveness is more about personal peace than about absolving others. My relationship with my family evolved. It wasn't a Hollywood reconciliation of perfect understanding, but a nuanced, imperfect connection. Michael began to see me as a professional peer. Emma reached out more frequently, showing genuine interest in my work. My parents, though still struggling to fully comprehend my path, started to listen. The most profound change was internal. I no longer sought their approval. My confidence came from within. From the countless challenges I'd overcome, the professional achievements I'd earned, and the person I'd become. I started a mentorship program for young professionals struggling with self-doubt, turning my personal journey into a platform for empowerment. Each person I helped was a reminder that our past does not dictate our future. My chosen family, Sarah, Marcus, and my close friends, remained my true support system. They celebrated my victories, held me during challenging moments, and loved me unconditionally. As I reflected on the journey from that painful Christmas dinner to this moment of self-discovery, I realized that the most significant revenge was living well. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. I was no longer the useless child. I was a survivor, a creator, a mentor. I was me, completely, unapologetically, beautifully me.